hours in just a few minutes. Right down for the next few minutes, we'll talk with Sean Lewis, and we'll talk about this. Going to let you hear this. This is a segment of videos making the rounds, YouTube and Facebook and everywhere. You've possibly seen it by now. I think the full thing runs 5 or 6 minutes. We'll give you a little bit less than a minute here, set this up for you. This takes you back to Saturday a week ago, the 10th of March. Athens Clarke County Republican Party caucus. They come together to select a slate of delegates to the state convention, which I think is in May. I stand to be corrected on that. But it's usually kind of a pro forma thing. Not usually a lot of waves made at this. Well, this time there were. And what you're going to hear, Matt Brewster, the chair of the Athens Clarke County Republican Party, I think you may hear John Elliott in here as well, as they wind up the selection process for this slate of delegates. And they will be interrupted by some Ron Paul supporters. And what you'll hear is the subject of the controversy.
At this time, we will have the reading from the nominations committee.
Marvin Brown and James Garland.
I move the slate be accepted.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Division.
Chair, the ayes have it.
Division.
The ayes have it.
Division.
I call to question the chair. An appeal from the decision of the chair.
Second. This is to discuss the convention is now closed.
Division.
I'm sorry.
Can you count the ayes?
Violating state party rules.
The list is present at this
And
time.
you are
The
jeopardizing
convention is
all of the
closed.
delegates from this precinct.
If you have any questions, feel free to discuss this with the Georgia GOP Secretary, John Padgett. Thank you all for coming, and we'll be in touch.
All right, Matt Brewster putting the wraps on that local caucus Saturday a week ago. By the way, reached out to Matt Brewster, local Republican Party chair, Athens Clarke County Republican Party chair, invited him to come on and talk about this with us this morning. He declined, saying the matter is still being investigated by the state party hierarchy. The key word here, and we'll get Sean Lewis in here on this. Sean Lewis, one of those who kept calling for division. Now, I didn't know this, but as I understand it now, division is a parliamentary procedure. Again, I'm told, I don't know, I'm told it's not something you debate. Somebody calls for division, you stop whatever you're doing, you count votes, basically. What you heard there was kind of an audible vote as opposed to a literal head count, and thus the source of some of the controversy here. Sean Lewis, jump in here and flesh this story out for us. What happened at this local Republican Party caucus?
Well, basically what happened was we had gotten together a coalition of voters through the mass precinct meeting. We had about 25 of the 37 delegates, so we felt rather comfortable that we had a majority of delegates at the county convention, that we'd be able to work with the minority of delegates and be able to put together a slate that the majority was rather comfortable with, that everyone should walk away with and be appeased. And basically what ended up happening was Matt Brewster handpicked 4 or 5 people for the nominating committee. They left for about 30 to 45 minutes and then came back. John Elliott read off the names of the delegates they proposed, and then with 12 out of 37 delegates, they passed the slate saying that the ayes had it. We called for division knowing that they didn't have the majority, yet our chairman, Matt Brewster, refused to yield to division, which Robert's Rules of Order, those are what the rules which we go by, the state mandates we go by, says that division is a stop in action which can't be debated by anyone. You don't have to have the floor to make that motion. You just say division and everything stops. And then it happens when a verbal count's done, a verbal vote. And then from there, the chairman has to stop, yield the floor to a head count. And basically, if he would have done that and gone by the rules that the state GOP set up, then we would have, it would have clearly been seen that we had the majority and the vote wouldn't have passed. At that point, debate would have opened up. We would have nominated people from the floor, and we would have debated until we had the required majority to have the slate done. Some of these county conventions went on for hours and hours and hours. Ours was over rather quickly. As you could see, obviously the vote was done, and then it was over with.
All right, Sean Lewis, again, I gather the crux of this is that your group supporting Ron Paul, and evidently the minority in this case, or what you're saying is a minority, does not.
I can't speak for them. We were a coalition of Ron Paul supporters. There were a couple of people that were Tea Party conservatives. We were a rather young group. We were new to the political process. And I can't exactly speak for them, but I know that the people who were the 12 delegates that got their slate passed through, a majority of them were establishment Republicans who've been part of the system for a while, and a majority of the delegates that they passed weren't in attendance. Bryant, our state Secretary of State, he's on the delegate list, him and his wife, and neither one of them were there in attendance. And they passed a couple of our supporters through, so it's not that we were completely disenfranchised, but the fact of the matter is that, well, I guess technically we were completely disenfranchised. We weren't allowed to vote. And that was our main issue, is we didn't want to be appeased by having some of our people on the delegate list. We wanted a fair process.
One of the things that one of your groups says, and this is a young woman, I'm sorry I don't know her name, but we hear her say at some point in this video, this segment that we played earlier, you're putting, she says to Matt Brewster, you're putting this entire delegate at risk at the state convention. What does she mean by that?
That was Lori Bone, and she is a very passionate woman, and she definitely knows her stuff. And what she meant by that is what we did, since he improperly, by Robert's Rules of Order, he improperly closed the convention. The next day, we reconvened the convention. We passed our own slate of delegates since we had a plurality of votes. And we have since, by certified mail, submitted that letter to the district and to the state. We have formally lodged a complaint through certified mail as well with Matt Brewster and with the local GOP hierarchy. We can't get in touch with them. They're not returning our phone calls. They're not returning our emails. We basically have a majority of the delegates and a majority of the county committee.
Have you been in touch with the folks at the state party?
We have been in touch with some folks. John Padgett, to his credit, has returned all of my emails. And basically, the folks at the state party are saying that until it gets out of the county and the district, then they're not going to just they're not touching it. They're not going to deal with it. They're not going to tell us anything. That video you played at the very beginning of it, Sue Everhart is handing a setting of the rules and apologizing for the shoddy treatment, her words literally, shoddy treatment of Ron Paul supporters in 2008, and says, if Matt Brewster doesn't know and understand the rules, then it's on her and it's on the state GOP hierarchy for the next convention. And
well, that's it. I mean, it sounds like Sean Lewis, they can just drag their feet on this. The state convention will come and go, and you guys will be left high and dry.
And that's one thing that we're worried about. We're currently seeking legal counsel. We have legal counsel from Fulton County, so we may possibly seek a legal remedy for this. We pretty much would like to be able to seek a remedy within the county and within them and have them come to us and say, we know that what happened wasn't the democratic process. You weren't given a voice. You weren't given a vote. Let's work this out and just have it out in the open and be able to give us the democratic process that we want. They won't return our phone calls. They won't return our emails. They won't return certified mail that we know they had to have received since we sent a return receipt. We wouldn't mind handling it right now at this level, but they won't do any of that. So basically, we might have to escalate it because we don't want to take over the party. We really don't. We're Libertarian Republicans. We want to work within the party. We're not going away. We're Republicans. We're going to stay here, and we like to work on a local level. Maybe get some of the county commission chairs, seats that are up in July for a vote, things of that nature. Get some people in there who are good Republicans that can help this county, since there's not a single Republican in any of the county commission seats right now.
Sean Lewis, this is fascinating stuff. It's interesting, and you're telling me, in addition, and folks can find this video, but very quickly, you're telling me a new video coming up soon, if it's not out there already?
There is. We have video of the convention that's coming up, the one that we held, and basically that's going to show our delegate slate and show a proper reconvening and a proper vote of the events that happen. I would also like to say people that are out there can watch this. This is happening across the country. In Missouri, a man was arrested because he was kicked kicked out of this convention just for wanting to videotape it.
Sean Lewis, up against the bottom of the hour here. Got to run on that. But again, fascinating stuff here. Interesting local political debate, and we will certainly try to stay on top of it. And again, we've extended the invitation to Matt Brewster, the chair of the Athens Clarke County GOP, to this point declining, citing the ongoing investigation. We'll see if we can get him in here at some point soon. Sean Lewis, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you very much. And the state can end this if they just recognize our slate. But thank you for having me. Thank you for the coverage, and have a good day. And I hope the pollen goes down.
Don't we all? Quick break. When we come back, Chip Towers,